Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fashion Design with Hannah. If you watch some of my videos or you follow me on my other social media accounts, I'm sure you've heard me mention that I am a knitwear designer. As someone who earned their bachelor's degree in sportswear, I'm sure you're wondering, why did you become a knitwear designer? But before we get into it, go ahead and leave a like on this video and subscribe if you aren't already. This is going to be a little bit of a story time, so go ahead and sit down with your bucket of popcorn or maybe a cup of tea, whatever floats your boat. And let's head back to about 5 years ago, we'll say. It was the beginning of my junior year or 5th semester at FIT, and at that time, they made you pick your concentration at the end of the 5th semester for what you'd be completing your 6th to 8th semesters in. To allow some concentration exploration, before you picked your concentration that you'd be studying, they made you take a basic body contour class or some sort of phrasing like that, which could be an intimate apparel class if you had a certain professor, or really just a contour class, along with a knitting class. So you were able to knit on hand industrial machines. So you had a shuttle that went back and forth across a bed of needles. With that machine knitting class, it really opened my eyes into the work that goes into knitwear, and I found it fascinating. I absolutely enjoyed it. I did struggle a bit, but at the time I was a little bit more into activewear than I was knitting. In order to learn more about activewear, my advisor said that I needed to be in the sportswear concentration, which also happened to be the concentration that everyone else was lumped into if they didn't get into their preferred concentration. See, there were so few classrooms and professors available for all the other concentrations that weren't sportswear that it was actually very selective. We actually had to apply for the concentration by the end of the 5th semester, and hopefully you would get in either from like professor recommendation or just by the speed at which you applied along with your grades. For me, sportswear and knitwear were neck and neck, but obviously I chose sportswear as my number 1 and knitwear as my number 2, which really meant that I was going into sportswear. On one hand, activewear was the reason why I got into fashion design, so it was definitely a passion, but on the other hand, knitting didn't seem to be something that I'd be able to learn on the industrial level outside of my bachelor's at FIT. Long story short, went with the sportswear concentration because I thought it would put me ahead in the activewear jobs applications, but in reality, there was only one class that we had that was dedicated to activewear, so I was really on the same playing field as everyone else. After I graduated from FIT, my first design position was in cut and sew knits, which is honestly the easiest category to get into fresh out of college. However, along with quite a few others in the industry, I got laid off at the beginning of this wonderful thing we've been having going on for the past couple years. My time out of work made me look into any other possible design categories that I could apply to, because not only did I have quite a lot of time to learn, but I also really needed a job. In the beginning, I didn't apply for any knitwear position because I knew knitwear is super technical. But as the months went by and no job to be found, I decided to just shoot my shot and apply for a knitwear position. Luckily, after applying, I noticed that one of my old classmates actually worked at the company, so I decided to reach out and see if I could get a referral for the position. If you don't already know, a referral goes a lot further than a resume in the fashion industry. I also didn't want to heavily rely on the referral, so I decided to start cramming as much knitwear information as I could possibly absorb before any possible interview. I actually couldn't find much information about industrial knitting out there, so I decided that I would immediately learn how to hand knit so I had some sort of frame of reference. And so I went to Michael's that weekend to actually pick up a cheapy knitting kit and some skeins of yarn so I could practice hand knitting. And it turns out that was a really good decision because on Monday I found out that on Tuesday I would be having an interview, so I tried to really cram and absorb as much information as I possibly could. I also looked up all sorts of ways that you could possibly sketch knitwear because I know that there are definitely different methods, and I didn't have any knitwear portfolio. As I'm sitting before you today, clearly a knitwear designer, the interview did end up going very well. I sent them a mini portfolio after the interview, and looking back on it, it was a great concept, but really basic knitwear. I played it safe. You can definitely tell that I tried though, and I did tell the interviewer that I had zero knitwear experience in the industry. However, the most important part is that besides the referral, I did tell them that I was willing to try anything and learn as much knitwear as I possibly could. People can always say that they're open to learning, but their actions are really what confirm those words. So I was offered a freelanced full-time hire, so really I was trialed before a full-time hire. Although it was a really scary thought for me, as I really needed some steady income, it helped me trial out knitwear design for myself, and I ended up falling in love with it. What has kept me in the knitwear category is constantly learning new things, from yarn innovations to stitch layouts and even new small creators to follow. I also try out things on my own through hand knitting as sort of a proof of concept, and I am currently knitting my first sweater, so it is definitely a journey. To sum everything up, if you're looking to transition to a new category of design for whatever reason, I would suggest the following. So 1, check into the basics of the category, and after some digging, ask yourself, does it excite you? Does it unlock your brain to new possibilities of design? Number 2, if yes, make your own portfolio and check. How long did it actually take you to make that portfolio? Was it enjoyable to sketch? Number 3, begin to look into jobs in that new category of design that require very little experience. Just remember that you can't really just expect to jump in at the top level and succeed. There are a lot of design details that you really probably don't know about already, and those mistakes can look really bad on your job performance. If you started a job that's at a lower level, you can always learn from the people above you and begin to move up the ranks. And it's sort of a part B to that. Ask yourself if you can afford to do a trial both financially and mentally. And if you're still determined to try something new, go for it. I wish you the best of luck on your journey. And if you're on the path of looking for more knitwear information, worry not. I will be posting more videos with actual information that I wish I had known at the beginning of my knitwear journey. And if you want to try out hand knitting, I have a list of resources that you can look into in my Valentine's Day knitting guide video that I'll leave a link for in the description down below. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Also, thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll be seeing you here in the next video. Bye! After I graduated from FIT, my first design position was in cut and sew knits witch. I'm a knitting witch.